Hello. Yeah, today I'm going to be talking about Obelisk. It's an analog horror series. It's about a year old and it got a new installment recently, like 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago. Haven't gotten around to talking about it, doing much of anything for that matter. Let's just get into it. Obelisk, yeah, it's an analog horror series. It's by Lizardmen Inc. It's got like 7 videos now, and I won't go over them all in detail. I'll just do like a vague thing. It's a series of videos. Most of them feature one of two creatures. There's one long stretched out guy. He's the one in the video we'll be talking about. You've probably seen him in a few thumbnails, especially recently. And then there's this other guy with these weird floppy things on his head. And all I know him for is that he just, came in and just stole a guy's kid. That's all I see from him, and he turned it into a caterpillar or something. And yeah, there's more to the story. I don't think we need to talk about it right now. We'll get to there when we get to there. But we do need to talk about it later. And so I'll be talking about one video today in detail. It's called The Man in the Tower. It has a description. All it says is David, ? It comes back later in the video. It's one of the only things you ever hear being said in the video. And yeah, okay. So the video opens with somebody just waking up in the middle of the night to noises downstairs. You don't really know this immediately, but this guy's the same person from My New Friend. I'm just going to get that out of the way because it becomes apparent fairly quickly. Yeah, he's older now, he moved, and he has no idea what those sounds could be. And yeah, he heads downstairs to check him out. I wouldn't do that personally, but does a walk through his house. Not really a walk, but he goes through some of his house. He did make a note that it smells like burnt matches. And this is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's been said in the video The House with No Windows, which also features the same monster. And there must be some correlation. Smell like burned matches, that is a very odd thing to note. And I looked into it because I thought immediately if you burn matches, what comes out of it? Well, some sort of gas, but carbon monoxide has no smell. So what else comes from burning matches? It's like, is it phosphorus or something? It is actually almost definitely referring to sulfur dioxide, which is emitted from the match head burning. If you ever think of when you burn a match, it smells weird. Doesn't smell that good. Don't know where the gas would come from. The only thing that emits it, like industrial machines and matches and stuff. So I'm not sure why his house smells like that. It could be like a gas leak. Well, it's probably the monster, actually, since it's been noted twice that it does that. But yeah, he notices a door where it shouldn't be, which, personally, if I noticed a door in my home that shouldn't be there, I would be extremely scared. I think he is, because it cuts to black, and there is a subtitle that reads, "This isn't my home anymore." That's not something you say a lot. Hopefully never. Especially if you're woken up in the middle of the night and there's a door where it shouldn't be. Yeah. Well, after that, he's back in his room. He's got the closet tied shut and the door barricaded. And I think now it's pretty safe to say that he remembers his friend, and he also remembers how it got in. Because he kind of appeared in the closet and just creeped out. I don't like how he looks, the monster. It's not a hot take, I guess. But I would like to talk about the main character for a second. I know he's the guy from My New Friend. I know because I've seen the video and it's made completely certain later, but also I just know. And there's a chance that he's from A House with No Windows, which is the other video featuring the same monster. But actually, looking back on it, I don't think it's the same guy. Because in the house with no windows, the guy in the house with no windows also talked about smelling like burnt matches, and he would probably immediately know the monster was that monster when he smelled the burnt matches instead of having to see the door. So I think this is the guy from my new friend, but not from the house with no windows. And it turns out that I guess curiosity gets the best of him. Since he does leave his room and he goes through the door that shouldn't be where it is. It's braver than me. So he gets into this, it's a weird kind of like twisted version of his house. And I really love this style. I'm going to take a minute to talk about that. It's very similar to like a lot of Kane Pixel's work from a few years ago, particularly the oldest view, the Rolling Giant, that video. Reminds me of that. I really like it. A little bit of the back rooms, mostly the color scheme. The monster too, it looks kind of similar. But I like it. I like it way more than the back rooms. Yeah, in this weird area of, well, not his house, but his Aether house. I don't know. There's a door on its side on the floor, and he goes through it. And he gets into yet another area. And when I think of this, it's almost like a kind of like a Garden of Forking Paths thing, where all the rooms seem similar, yet different, and it actively changes as he goes through them. And then there's also something in there with him, which also is what happens in that garden. And the next few minutes are just like exploring. It's very interesting nonetheless, but there's not much to talk about, so I'll just talk about what I like about the series in general. Obelisk it's a very cool style. It's very well animated, great visual effects. I'd like to say that I really like that some of the earlier videos are in that kind of point and click style. I really like that style, like the boy in the bath almost. And the monsters are also very interesting. They're not really particularly scary in any physical way, except for they're big and they've got weird looking faces. And when you see something like that in the dark, I don't know about you, but I get scared. So, and then maybe also the fact that at least one of these things can trap you in like a weird labyrinth inside your home. That also kind of makes them not the friendliest. But yeah, back to the video. The rooms he enters, they're getting increasingly odd. Bunch of furniture or doors upside down in weird places. And they also get very narrow and very tall, which are characteristics of something I know that is also in there with him. So all the exploring he does, it culminates in him entering this room with some windows. Not very interesting until you realize it's looking directly in on his living room. And if that wasn't bad enough, he also sees the monster, and it also sees him. Which, that doesn't make the room worse, but it definitely makes the situation worse, which makes the room worse. And something interesting about this is that the monster actually speaks. First time you ever hear it speak. Also, the only word it says, very limited vocabulary, it says David. And the way it says it, kind of like a person, when they see you, they're like, he's like, David, is that you? So it's probably, that makes me think that the main character is called David. His name's David. And they kind of like stare at each other for a few seconds, and then I don't know if David realizes what that thing is, or if he just realizes or if he just sees what that thing is, and he decides it's a good time to run. And it begins kind of like it's like a chase scene. It's a very interesting one. It's very different. And if you look at this video and the video My New Friend, which also features this monster, David, which I'm almost sure it's the same character. In My New Friend, the monster doesn't want to hurt him, I think. I don't know, the ending sequence where the thing is just kind of like out of the closet staring at him. He didn't look the friendliest, but I don't think he actively wants to hurt David, or he would have done it a while ago. And also something about the chases, not only this particular chase, but also the chases, they're shorter, but they're also a few, like one or two more later in the video. The thing, it doesn't, when like when things chase, there's a few different ways. This monster, it doesn't run after him like it's his dinner, like he's trying to eat him. It runs after him. It doesn't chase him per se. It just like pursues him. It's almost like it's trying to like talk to him. So I think that's very interesting. It's definitely unique. I've never really had or ever seen like a chase scene where the thing just kind of wants to talk to him. That's cool. Oh yeah, I forgot to say this, but yeah, there is the other monster in these videos just kind of like stole a kid, and maybe this monster is just trying to do that now, a few years later. Whatever the reason though, it does pursue him, and he runs for a very long while. And he runs through rooms he's been in before, because what other rooms is he going to find other than new rooms, which are the only other kind of rooms he could find. And then he's also in very nondescript hallways, and it does jump around a lot, so you don't know what he's been in, what he hasn't been in, hallways-wise. And he does eventually run into a different area, and this area has much more of that like house with no windows style architecture. And it's kind of like, you can kind of tell it's slowly transitioning into not looking like his house. Like he's starting to move into something else, like some other place, or into an area that looks like some other place. I don't know. But he gets into this one art room that looks literally identical from one in a house with no windows. And so much so that it is the same room. It's the same room. This time, though, it does have a balcony that overlooks this. I don't know how to describe it. It's painted green. It's a staircase. It's got stairway, hallway, closet. It's just this kind of weird. It's just a room that connects everything. There must be a name for it. I just cannot think of it. I don't know why. And something else. Some music starts playing very faintly. It sounds nice. It's supposed to sound nice, but like I really like how it sounds. Also made me think about like music, or really the lack thereof, in analog horror, and that's a video I'll be doing soon because I think it's very interesting. Also, I want an excuse to listen to this, whatever is playing here more. I like it. And I think David likes it too, because he kind of just hangs out in the art room for a bit, and he decides eventually, though, he's like, I gotta get out of here, I guess. Since he probably doesn't want to stay here locked in a mind prison with his old friend for very long, which is pretty understandable. And yeah, he does make his way back, as you would, and he gets to the hallway with the sideways door. It turns out this is the other end of that hallway. He went one way, and he's looped back around. Actually, no, he didn't. That's wrong. Sorry. He sees the monster in that other end of the hallway, and then he promptly crawls through the door to get away from it. He seems like he's ready to get back to his room and go to sleep. I just don't think that's an option anymore, though, with the way that thing's trying to talk to him, or kill him, or steal him. I don't know. But yeah, he goes through the sideways door, and he heads into that hallway with the door that shouldn't be there that got him into this weird place. And, I kind of expected this, but the hallway didn't loop into his real house. It looped into that green hallway complex with the really nice music. That's a plus. It's the biggest change to the environment yet, so I think I'll talk a bit about what I think's going on with that. I think the kind of change to any area that you're in isn't really normal. It's shocking. I need to get better at writing scripts, wow. And also the monster chasing you down isn't normal either. And I think there's kind of a relation between those two things. I think also because in the house with no windows, we do see the same thing. Like, some of the rooms are the same as the man in the tower, the video we're watching right now. And also, yeah, the house with no windows also has a really weird architecture, weird furniture placement. So I think this monster is kind of like doing that. And every time this monster shows up, he gets what other guy is with the monster is in some like weird like purgatory area. Because, the house with no windows, it's like the size of a standard home in roof height, in like square footage, really everything. And then the main character crawls in there and it's way bigger. So it's kind of like a TARDIS kind of thing. Harry Potter tent. And the same thing is also happening to David, because I don't think that his house is that big. Maybe he's just rich, but I don't think his house is that big. I also don't think that his house moves around like that. It's probably the bigger tell. And that kind of makes me think that this monster, I'll just call him the monster for now, he creates like a door, like an opening into this other world, like he did with the house and no windows, the crawl space, and here with the weird misplaced door. And then it sends him into, I think it's either like a pocket world, or like inside the mind of either the main character or the monster, which is probably the monster, since the monster also, some of the rooms are also from the house with no windows, and if David wasn't in the house with no windows, then, and the monster was, then is probably from the monster's head, or it's just like a pocket world that the monster controls. It could be really anything. Well, yeah. Okay, continuing on with the video. David finally acknowledges the music for the first time. Says it reminds him of sunny days. It's nice. It's very nice. And then he goes down a hallway, and there's a door at the end, like most hallways. Most normal hallways. A lot of hallways in this house don't have any, they don't have any doors at the end. They're like dead ends. And then he opens the door, as you do when you're at a door. And then he ends up in the living room of his childhood home. That would be kind of shocking. And the music's coming from a TV that's playing a cartoon. I think it's the same cartoon from My New Friend, I think. And then, he kind of looks around for a little bit, as you would if you ended up in your childhood home with a monster chasing you. And he does say something, I think, something really interesting. He says that they moved not long after his dad passed. And, that's an explanation for what the monster is. There's another video. It was actually the one right before the man in the tower with these two birds. One of them had his goldfish die, and he's sad about that. And the other bird, says that sometimes a part of something that dies can come back to comfort a person. And that probably means that his dad died, and then the monster is a part of his dad. Wow, that was shaky. Probably means that his dad died, and the monster is a part of his dad, kind of coming back to comfort the kid, David. And then My New Friend video was made because of that. And I also think that shortly after the monster, I'll call it David's dad now, after it started showing up, either David's mom saw the monster kind of creeping up on him in the middle of the night and decided, I don't want that thing living with my kid, and they moved, or they just ended up moving, and then they moved after the video was made and after the dad died. Well, definitely after the dad died. And then David just ended up forgetting about the monster, because David seems very young in that video. Very young. And also, speaking of his death, my guess is that David's dad's death has something to do with an accident with like machinery or something to do with matches or burning something. Since it's been several times, since it's been said several times that the areas near David's dad, when he's reincarnated, they smell like burnt matches. The areas, there's sulfur dioxide. It really smells like sulfur dioxide, but like burnt matches. And so I think that he probably died in like an accident, or he died because he burnt a bunch of matches in a room and died. Or something like that, something to do with sulfur dioxide, because it's kind of weird that it keeps getting mentioned. Well, continuing on, David does start exploring the rest of his old home. He goes up the stairs, as all the other doors are closed. He does look into a bathroom, but I can't see anything in there but the tile. And then he looks into the first room up the stairs, and he immediately disproves my theory on David's dad's death. Because as David pans the camera through the bedroom, we can see hidden in a closet, not really hidden, but we can see like a noose and a stool in a closet. And that probably means one thing, that David's dad committed suicide, and he didn't actually die because of the sulfur dioxide. So it might just be a weird detail. And also, I don't bring it up until like right at the end of the video, but I'm just going to say now, I think that the sulfur dioxide comes from the fact that David's dad, reincarnated, turns on lights that David's not able to turn on. And I think it's like he just has the ability, and he always smells like burnt matches because he's like burning matches or something, or he is a burnt match. That doesn't make much sense, but that's what that's all I can explain for the sulfur dioxide smell. We also do see right next to the bedroom, there's like a little height chart of David. And also, since the date reads 1988, I think David either moved out in 1988 or very shortly thereafter, since I think you kind of stop doing that kind of thing, like marking your kid's height once you're like, you die or your husband dies. I wouldn't be in the mood to mark my kid's height anymore. Well, yeah, also, right down the hall he finds his childhood bedroom, and he goes to look through it, because there's nothing else to do. And it looks literally just like his room in My New Friend, except the lights are out. And that makes sense, since if it's really from the mind or like a pocket little dimension of this monster, and the monster was around when David's room looked like that, then it's gonna look like that. And he doesn't really get to reminisce for long, since his dad comes back, And he runs, tries to see him, and then he sees the light turn off, and he knows he's right there. David obviously doesn't want the crazy monster thing to go and find him, and he's kind of trapped now, since he's pinned upstairs in his bedroom, and he has no escape. The only thing he can really do is to hide in the closet. Also, when he gets in the closet, there's some blankets laid out in there, and my only guess is that he kind of tried to make it like a bed for his dad's reincarnation whenever it visited, or something. Or maybe like to sleep in there since the monster was in there or something. Yeah, no, but right after David hides, his dad shows up, and this is where I mentioned that I think he probably can like turn the lights on, and that's why he smells like sulfur dioxide. So, yeah, he sits in the dark for a second because the thing also turned off the light. And, since there's only a few places to check, and also maybe because he's got, like, the camera with the camera light. Maybe not the camera light, but he's got a camera in his hand. It doesn't take him long to find David. He does. He opens the door. He doesn't attack. He says one thing. That thing, he says he's just David. Also has the subtitle, too. And then the video ends. Kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger. But you can pretty much guess what's going to happen to him. Either this thing just killed him. I think that if David's dad is like the other thing in the Obelisk videos, it's just gonna take him. It's gonna up and take him and then replace him with like a butterfly or a caterpillar or something. Since that's what the other thing did with the baby. Actually, since he's not a baby, it's probably gonna replace him with like a caterpillar or something. Yeah. Video is over. It's a great video. It's long. It's very well made. Very well made. I'd like to say it was great. And it's almost it's in a found footage style. There's not much symbolism to talk about, if any, really. I would like to say, since I looked through the comments a little bit, but I did after I wrote the script, so that I didn't just really echo everything I saw in the comments. Maybe I did. I kind of did a little bit, but what else was I supposed to get out of it? But, one comment, which I actually talk about a little bit later down the line, I'm just going to say it now. One comment says that David, his dad's reincarnation finding him, is him confronting the dysfunctional household he had as a child. I think that's a little bit far-fetched. I think it's not, especially since it's not in that, like, Dr. Nowhere style, I don't think he's like Desiderios like that, where he confronts the root of his fear, but I think that also confronting your dysfunctional household is probably not hiding in a closet and having a monster find you, but I wouldn't know. I don't read ahead enough in the script because I just started talking about him. So that comment, that part, and also what I'm just going to talk about right now is by a commenter. Their username is Stop Reading My Name. I won't talk about the whole thing because there is more. And the thing I found most interesting about it was about his dad's appearance, or his dad's reincarnation appearance. And so Stop Reading My Name says that he's stretched to indicate that he died by hanging, and that his face is like that because David was a really young child when his dad was alive, and all he can remember his dad being was like a larger thing with simple features. Thinking about that, it's an interesting way to look at it. I agree with some of it. I would say personally, I don't think that the dad is stretched to show that he hung himself, especially because if it's coming back to comfort him, or if it's any way, I don't think that. I think it's a little too on the nose. I think it's more likely that he's just kind of like stretched a little bit, maybe because of how young David was and how much taller he looked compared to David. But yeah, I don't know. And then I will say that I completely agree with the fact that David's dad has that like simple face and is really tall because of that's all that David remembers about him because he was really young. I think that's really the extent of like how much we can explain why the monster looks that way. I think the only factor that adds to the monster's appearance is the fact that David was so young and not the fact that he hung himself. Especially because the goldfish in that video, even though the goldfish turned into a butterfly and not a crazy monster, the goldfish died of old age, presumably, and the butterfly is not a very old butterfly. It looks like a very young butterfly. But all in all, great video. Good comment, I guess, and I don't want to take credit for that. I won't. You can tell it's not me. It's too put together. It is a very atmospheric video, too. I think it takes everything that I liked about the stuff Kane Pixels did, like the oldest view in the back rooms, and it just made it better and took it in a different way that I like more. And yeah, I think there's going to be more storyline with David. At least I hope so. I can't say for sure, though. And I also hope that the other monster, the baby snatcher, or even that weird fleshy guy from, what was it, the second video? I hope one of them or both of them gets a longer video like this, or like a house with no windows, just something more to add to them, because they're really very interesting. Yeah. Well, all I can really say is that I look forward to where Obelisk is going, and yeah, definitely don't worry, because whenever another part gets posted, I'll be there, and I'll tell you all about it. Hopefully I'll tell you. Hopefully you come back. But yeah, speaking of which, if you made it this far, like, really thank you. Not many people do. It's very nice of you to stay and listen to me ramble. And if you like this, like really like this, and you want to see more, I'd ask you to consider subscribing. I really hope to be making more videos in a more timely manner soon. I've said this in a few past videos, but I'm actually, I think, gonna do that for once this time. Speaking of which, I will be doing next the Season 2 finale for Vita Carnis. I did start it. I never got around to finishing it, so actually expect to see that very soon. Like, literally, like, I'm hoping like a day or two after this video goes up. So, get ready for that. I will say also that I hope to branch out a little bit. I'm still learning. I want to talk about some videos going over my thoughts on, like, maybe like analog horror in general, or talking about other things in similar vein that I enjoy. I'm not quite sure yet, but I want to branch out instead of just like going over like a single video of an analog horror. I want to do something a little bit more, and then even more than that, I do hope at some point in the future, hopefully the near future, I will get good enough to do something a little bit more creative, a little bit more, instead of building off of other people's stuff, like actually making something of my own. But that'll come with time, and I'll definitely, it'll happen one day. I just gotta wait it out. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching, really seriously. It means a lot. I'll see you in the next one.